Hello and welcome to the City Union Mission Podcast, The Living Well. Thank you for being with us. I'm Brad Burrow, and today we have a couple of special guests. Josh Denny, who is a care manager at LMCC. I said that right this time. The L Minor Care Center. And we also have Amanda Green, who is the administrator for the L Minor Care Center. And we will probably refer to that as the LMCC from here on out because I'm not sure I can say it very well anymore. So thanks for joining us, guys. I really appreciate it. Josh, tell me a little bit about your story. So you were telling me earlier that you're the care manager now, but you came through City Union Mission.
Yeah, so I came through City Union Mission in late or mid 2022. Starting out at L Minor Care Center, later moving on to their long-term men's CLP, Christian Life Program, and completing that successfully. And just really, my employment there is just really a complete circle back from the start of the journey.
Do you want to talk about how you got there or anything like that?
To be perfectly honest, a lot of my job is peer support. So, I mean, how I got there was the need and desire for sobriety.
Yeah.
So, I think I was about 21, 22 days clean. I'm soon to be 3 years.
Amazing.
And that's how I even came to the city.
And so you ended up at City Union Mission, and they kind of helped you get involved in the CLP program?
Yeah, eventually. I think I moved over there in January of 2023. So I spent a couple months at LMCC, and stabilization, getting used to new emotions, new environment, new city, and transitioning over and completing their long terms, just staying really connected to what I found my safe space to be.
Yeah. And then you came back later, and now you're working there. How did that come about?
I think it was my stubbornness for the year. Year, since I felt safe there, and I deal with mental health issues, I had a desire to want to continue to be in that space, right?
Yeah.
So when I would get overwhelmed in other programs, I would come hide out and re-energize myself in that space. So it was a push and a desire and a voiced desire for better part of a year before it even became something real to talk about.
Does it feel pretty good to be there now?
Oh, yeah. I love my job. I just got back from a couple days out of state, and honestly, I wanted to be back because I was like, I want to be at work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things you do in your daily role?
So I guest coordinate in some sense. So guest coordination looks like maintaining a routine. So meaning to do the same steps day in, day out at the same time to help establish routine. So that and I'm time oriented, so it works great. I'm also learning how to do, in sense, care management or case management in the sense of, so what does this person need? What kind of support does this person need? Do they need extra time one-on-one? Learning that and what that appropriately looks like.
Yeah.
And doing corrections where needed. I mean, in my future role, I think that will be a benefit, and more so since I'm a peer, a huge reward.
You know, it's got to be good for you to have a background of where you came from, being able to help people that maybe were in the same position as you. I mean, you've got to feel for those people, I bet.
I do, but as little that I've worked so far, I've only been there since December. I feel like them knowing that I'm not no better than them has helped some individuals blossom where prior I think they were struggling. So knowing that it's possible.
Yeah, that's awesome. Amanda, let's switch to you. So tell us your role. And you had mentioned a couple of different titles. I don't know, I thought were pretty funny. But tell us your role at LMCC.
Okay, so I'm the administrator, or some may say the chaos coordinator or benevolent overlord. I have been there for over 7 years. I came 3 months before we were going to open. So I came in November of 2017. 3 days after I had retired from active duty in the Army for 21
right?
years, I retired and came right on board. So, and that's what I wanted to do. Had visited the City Union Mission, the Family Center, when I was a volunteer and still on active duty.
Yeah.
And I knew like right away, like I want to be a part of this. I want to do this. So that was my plan.
So
all
you just
along.
knew that you wanted to do that.
I knew that God spoke, at me like, this is your calling. I always knew when I left the military, I would work in nonprofit. But once I started volunteering there and I saw what they do, it's more than just a shelter. I was like, I'm going to be a part of this. And then they started talking to me about the L Minor Care Center. And then they brought me on board. So I'm the administrator. So we work with individuals that have high barriers to care and vulnerabilities.
So what does that mean exactly? High barriers to care.
So intellectual disabilities, developmental disabilities, physical or mental illness, special or specific needs related to age, or if they're a veteran, or chronic homelessness. And sometimes we don't even know. It could be spiritual distress or anger, at their situation.
Yeah.
And so they're just at that time unable to connect to housing, connect to resources on their own. And they may also be vulnerable just because of their age or their situation.
So what does LMCC, I mean, do people come in there like daily? Or what does that look like?
So all of our referrals come from our emergency shelter, which is right next door. So
Okay.
they're referred by their excellent staff, and then we meet with them before they ever come in to see if we can help them, if they want us to help them. And then we arrange a time to bring them in for a tour. So just like if they were touring a new apartment
Really?
or an assisted living, so then they know what they're getting into. And usually after we do the tour and they see our small environment and they talk to our staff, they ask when they can move in. We move them in usually within 24 to 48 hours. And they have the same bed every night. They get a free locker. We eat within our center, and we start working with them to get a healthy routine.
Do you find that most of the people that come in do want to go through the program, or what is that like?
I would say for us, it's about 50-50.
Okay.
Since we work with a huge portion of the population that's been chronically homeless
Yeah.
and have been let down like multiple times, just by different people, maybe their family or friends or themselves. A lot of times there's a self-destruction that they come with. They don't think it's going to work, or they think if they've been institutionalized in a psych facility or a prison-like setting, they might be timid about moving in at first. Once we get them in by like day 2 or day 3, the majority of individuals really start to get into the routine, and they get more comfortable.
So this is a question for both of you. What's it feel like helping people? I mean, that you guys are on the front line of, people that are really in distress and having a lot of problems, and you're really helping people get their lives turned around. I mean, what's that feel like? Does that kind of energize you every day to come in and work?
I think it does. It brings a lot of joy, and we're very intentional about ensuring that like we're not coming in to get our cup filled, that our cup is filled before we come in. So then we look for the small wins, and we do that to keep up our own resiliency, but also for those that we serve. So
Yeah.
even if their biggest win for that day was that they stayed safe and sober inside, that's a win. So we always look for the small ones. So then we always have that joy. And it's always just an honor to watch them progress, even if it's incremental and even if it takes a few years.
I mean, even on the progression, I was talking to you today about an individual visual progression. It doesn't necessarily mean that that they did something remarkable. It could be as simple as noticing someone seems calmer and they seem more groomed or more humanized because they're happy, so they're taking care of themselves more. So they might not recognize that, but we see it, and I think that's a huge win and something that puts a smile on my face. Like, this individual was struggling yesterday, and today they're like willing to be in it. So
you're seeing that kind of a turnaround just in one day sometimes.
Sometimes it takes longer, but sometimes after someone has gotten like some really good sleep, we have Tempur-Pedic mattresses. So once they've slept well, I
Probably
always,
haven't slept on a mattress in
yeah.
who knows how long, right?
Yeah, I brag about our showers. We've never ran out of hot water, so we have excellent showers.
And no timers.
No timers on
Yeah.
them, right?
Yeah.
So they even have a day they can sleep in. We offer nap time in the afternoon. So after they've gotten all that, then usually at least some of the barriers and issues have gone away. Some haven't, but they start to feel better about themselves.
Yeah. Josh, what do you think about as far as the satisfaction of being able to help people?
So I find satisfaction in a lot of ways. Just the feeling of somebody asking me a question, what do I think about something? You know, because as an individual that struggled once or still does, to be appreciated or someone to have the desire to want my opinion puts value to me too. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So, I mean, being in that supportive measure, seeing guys start goals based on examples left by I feel myself. Example being, I had to quit smoking to be eligible for a possible job, and I had to have time behind that quit. It couldn't be like I quit a week ago, now we're good.
Yeah.
I had to have time period. So I share that openly because we don't support nicotine usage. It's not healthy.
Right.
But I also share, you know, it's been a little less than a year for me, and I've noticed individuals attempt to quit because they've heard that story. And that's beautiful. And that makes me feel good non-verbally because I feel like my actions are affecting others in positive ways.
Yeah. I think it's awesome that the experience that you've come through, I honestly think God uses our experiences to help other
Amen.
people. And you probably both have that. But Josh, you specifically, that's amazing. I mean, think about all the struggles you went through, and now you're able to help other people. That's got to feel pretty good.
Yeah, it makes you feel valuable, it makes you feel wanted, and it makes you feel happy to walk in the door, right? Especially you know, with mental illness comes a lot of natural paranoia. So when you have positive supports, a lot of that paranoia is put to rest. So not to experience that is a huge blessing.
Can you see when somebody comes in that you see him relax? You talked about, you know, you could notice that. I mean, you probably have seen it so much that you just see people kind of release some of that stress. That's got to be a pretty amazing thing.
It is, especially after about probably 72 hours, you really start to see it because they start to trust that, okay, they're going to let me stay here. I can stay here. We're very low barrier. There's only a few things that you're going to be asked to leave for, and they're basic safety. You know,
Yeah.
we want to keep everyone safe, so it's very easy to be able to stay there. We try to keep it very low
Yeah.
barrier. So watching them see that and helping them like just relax, and you can see it when they start getting up in the morning and they go get their cup of coffee on their own, and they know when breakfast is. They'll remind
Little
us when
things like
lunch
that,
is.
you can
Just
just
little
see it.
things.
Or even the desire to want to stay inside, because some of the strongest struggles is breaking the habit of waking up and needing to go do something.
Yeah.
And honestly letting go and knowing that we have what you think you need to go do, and what we need you to do is sit down and breathe. And that's so hard to let go. But when after witnessing to people that have been there, when new individuals come, it's not just us, it's our current guests helping the new individuals going, no, it's okay to let go. They do have you. And to witness that just empowers you more, because you must be doing something right, because you have, you know, your own environment
Right.
supporting you going, no. And it's not just staff saying it, they're having conversations and helping too.
And getting them to believe that is probably
Well, it's
a
not
challenge,
just
isn't it?
believe, to realize that it's real.
Yeah.
It's more to realize that it's real. In my life, I had never felt safe or loved or had a true healthy understanding of that. And I think in this environment, I've learned it, and I think a lot of people get a chance to learn it. And I've always said this, my biggest lesson from her 2 years ago is that God commands us to love, but that doesn't mean I have to like you. it was a huge wake-up call to me.
Yeah.
It was a huge wake-up call because it helped define what love was and also what the word like was, which I completely had it flipped.
And I remember that, and I still use that with men today. Not that I don't like you or I don't like them, but if they're in a codependency situation or they have a lot of paranoia, they think they have to be liked to be helped. So just always remind them, I'm commanded by God to love you. You don't have to worry about if I like you or not. I
Yeah.
love you.
Yeah, that's earth-shattering for some of the guys probably, huh? Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about, so L Minor Care Center. Talk
Yes.
about Lorraine. You mentioned her earlier before we were
Yes.
recording. And give me a little background
will.
on her, what's happening with her, why she's the namesake for the LMCC.
So she is a true legend within City Union Mission and many other missions as well, probably across the country. So years before we opened, she had been planning and praying for the L Minor Care Center. She saw that there was a gap between the emergency shelters and the long-term programs, so that there were men that needed something, but that weren't able to do a long-term discipleship recovery program. Maybe they couldn't sit in classes or do vocational development or sit in a learning center, for even an hour. So she saw
what
the
was
gap.
happening to these men.
And there happened to be an empty church building right next to our men's emergency shelter. So she said she would drive by that on the way home and just started praying about it, planning, talking to the board, talking to her peers.
Yeah.
And against her will, they named it after her.
Yeah. Sounds like she's very humble.
She is, and she still stays in touch with us. She's been battling cancer for 10 plus years, and she probably calls once a month. She wants to know when I have new staff, when clients need prayers.
Yeah, amazing. Amanda, can you talk about one of the things that I was thinking about when you were talking about your background in the military? How has that prepared you for this position? I mean, you have had to have gone through some amazing experiences that can help with what you're doing.
Thank you. That's one of my favorite questions. I think resiliency is the main thing it helped me. I'm used to being in adverse conditions and having to trust that I'm going to be okay and those around me have my back. So I came in knowing that, even though in the very beginning we weren't sure exactly how everything is this model going to work, but I had the faith and the trust. I knew it would. I've gone to other countries and not sure what was going on, but it all worked out. So I knew that God had it. Working with others, collaborating with others. I'm the only female in the L Minor Care, and I'm the administrator, so I lead it. So the ability and mainly the humbleness to lead other men, and to take care of male guests. I've done that within the military. I value the different roles, the different gender roles of male and women. So I love men and women.
Right.
So I love to highlight the strength of my male staff and the male guest. And I did that within the military. So that definitely crossed over for me.
So do you look back and you say God was preparing you for this moment?
He was. I actually use the story of Jonah, and I've been to Nineveh, that's Mosul, Iraq, and they think that's
You've
where
been
it's
there,
at.
yeah.
I have been there, and I always joke about, I kind of use that story. At times when I was in the military,
Were you sitting under a palm tree?
I know. And I would question, okay, this is the career I chose, and I loved my time in the military. I don't regret it. But sometimes I wondered, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
And then now I know, all the times in the barracks when we did barracks inspections, how many beds do we need? How much food do we need? How much this? I mean, all that crossed over to operating what I operate now.
Yeah, that's amazing. Amazing. So I wanted to ask you both a little bit about the faith aspect of City Union Mission. I've always felt that City Union Mission is so great because they do it like Jesus did. It's like they meet a physical need and then a spiritual need. And that, to me, that's so powerful. And I can tell you're both, strong in your faith. Talk about that aspect of what happens at City Union Mission. I'd love to hear that from both of you.
Okay. Go ahead.
I on that question, I think I can witness to that on the fact that when me and Amanda met, I was nowhere near a Christian, nowhere near. So I think the programs at City Union Mission really develop a safe space to feel good enough to explore and to listen and to learn. Because I'm a Christian today, I couldn't have been happier. I can say I love my life today, but I think that's just a stepping stone of their structure is that I went from a person that would physically get sick at church, like throw up sick, and so
wow.
I left the property to an individual that can't get enough church. So, and it's because of the structuring and the hospitality goals and the what you call them, the hospitality. My mind's skipping. I apologize.
That's okay.
But I think that plays into it because every approach is biblical, even if it isn't verbally biblical. The approach, the way you problem solve is biblical.
Right. And just having the attitude, I love you, I'm going to help you. That,
And we always say that we're faith-based, but not faith-mandated. So
Right.
all of our team, we're all strong believers, but we welcome non-believers. So the majority of those that we serve are, and we celebrate that because we want to show them, you know, what servant leadership is and what the love of Christ is, and we share our faith all the time. But we don't yell at them about it.
Yeah.
And most of the time that invites the questions, so then they're coming to us. And we also include the love of Christ at all the points of care. So we talk about spiritual distress. We openly talk about, hey, we've all been there when we're angry at God, when we don't hear him. And a lot of our individuals, they struggle with that. So then they think God is absent. So we openly talk about that quite a bit. And I think that helps start to get them to think about their spiritual care.
and that's got to be a big reason why people get turned around. Josh, you're an example of that.
Right, and I think it's part of that routine too. I was just thinking about the routine for the day.
Yeah.
You know, so we make sure we focus on positive entertainment. We don't like calling it entertainment, but I mean, for these purposes, Christian music while eating breakfast.
Yeah.
You know, positive reinforcement. You know, listening to a devotional every morning before Superman becomes a priority. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Like starting the day in an appropriate manner, and
Yes.
then ending that in a calm manner, also by keeping that same rhythm throughout the day. So you're purposely trying to not encourage certain types of media and purposely being mindful of what others are hearing, not alone just seeing. And then seeing people emulate that subconsciously. Even from someone going from cussing a lot to a non-cusser and doing it subconsciously because of the environment around them, they're not hearing it. So they're not speaking it.
And the Holy Spirit's working
Amen.
in their life.
Yes.
That's pretty cool. What is I have a couple more questions. So, what's a typical day look like
Okay.
for you? I'm really curious about that. You know, what do you do every day?
Okay. So our day within the center begins about 6 o'clock. We do what I call a soft wake up. So no one's like banging garbage cans to wake the men up. Usually we're just slowly, sometimes play music depending on what staff it is, just slowly.
Do you live there?
I don't live there.
Okay.
I live about 5 minutes away.
Okay.
So
you get up early and come in and wake
yeah.
up everybody.
Well, I get up about 5:30 just out of routine.
Yeah.
Our men start getting up about 6, and then they eat breakfast about 7:30. So they have about an hour to get ready.
yeah.
Yep.
And our kitchen is next door at the men's center, so we bring our food over so the men don't have to go back and forth, so it feels more like family oriented.
Yeah.
So then I come in at about 7:30, between 7:30 or 8:30 depending on the day, and we do a morning group, and we do that with the entire house. And
And
typically
how many people is that? normally?
between 15 and 24.
Okay.
Our capacity is 24. We found between 15 and 18 is an excellent like Dunbar number.
Yeah.
So our men don't feel too crushed together.
Yeah.
But then they do start getting used to living in a neighborhood. So they're not by themselves,
Right.
but they have.
Right.
We do a morning group, a short devotional, and kind of go over what day it is, because that's grounding for everybody. Today is Monday, it's this day. And then kind of the rhythm of the day. Like these people have laundry. And I'll do a powwow, a huddle with my team. We have a center team leader, and Josh is the care manager. And we'll talk about appointments for that day, or if we have any guests that we need to do an intervention with. Maybe they had a hard night the night before, and that was passed on by our overnight staff, so we want to check in with that person. We're not a medical facility, so we don't pass medication, but we do teach the men how to take medication and manage that. So we have a secured area where we give them access to that, so it starts getting them into a good, healthy routine of taking care of themselves, whether it's vitamins or over the counter, or their assigned medication
in their lives at this point, right?
True. And on a side point, a lot of individuals that are homeless have diabetes, and they're not used to having a safe place to check their blood sugar, take care of their insulin. So we provide that as well.
And also a sense of privacy.
Yes.
Which is huge.
Huge.
Because you'd be amazed on how many people are so numb to not having privacy that to us, or to me now, it's inappropriate to just sit there and stab yourself with insulin. And they would, because they're not thinking about their surroundings at all. And then going, no, we're going to do this in private because this is your privacy. This, not everybody needs to know. Yeah.
And then we have what's called life skills. So we have 3 different teams: hospitality, engagement, and wellness. So we're teaching them to take care of their own laundry, to clean up, within the common areas. Many don't know, or they've just been out of the habit. And they grab onto that. They'll set themselves up on their own team and assign a leader. And it takes a while at first to teach it, and then they start doing that, which might lead to a career for some, which is excellent. It also just shows them like ownership of what is theirs and helping to kind of tidy up their own space.
Yeah.
Then we move into care management with our care manager, which is Josh, or
Go Josh.
Our center team leader, Anthony. He works with a lot of the veterans. He's a veteran as well. He also does a lot of peer support. If the individuals have appointments, we like to take them to appointments, especially if they're new to a primary care. They need to get it set up. Many times the individual might not have an ID yet, and when they go to appointments, they might just get frustrated.
Yeah.
So we like to kind of intervene and show them, best practices on how to get what you want when you're trying to set an appointment.
Yeah.
So we work with them on that quite a bit. At 11, there's a men's group. I don't go to that intentionally. My male staff leads that, and they talk about topics like pornography, healthy relationships,
hygiene and within
hygiene
community.
items like foot care, like healthy interactions with each other. Most of our groups are about 20 minutes because of the attention span of most of us humans, so we keep them pretty short. Then we move on to lunch. After that, the men have 3 choices. We try to focus on the wellness domains. They can take a nap, go into the community, just so they come back at our check-in time is at 4, or they can stay inside and do movies and play games. And during that time, I'm either in meetings or I'm meeting with the staff to help plan the next day.
Yeah. Wow. It's a lot in one day.
We stay pretty busy or productive.
It ebbs and flows pretty. It goes by fast, and it's very relaxed.
Yeah.
I've never had such a job that even focuses on the fact of you. So I'm a go person.
Yeah.
And in this job, you can't go because your energy level affects others. So it's nice to be within a job that you're also learning how to pace yourself.
Yeah.
And they want you to take mental breaks.
Yeah.
And it's a hard adjustment, but it's a blessing. It's a blessing, and it helps so much because you can see others taking breaks alongside you.
Yeah.
So we always want to, even if we're busy, we want to, on the outside, look non-anxious, so then that those that we help don't feed off our energy in a bad way.
Yeah. Yep. We don't think about things like that out here in the real world. So last thing I wanted to ask you guys, if you're going to encourage others that there is hope, there's a place for them. There's hope that they can get turned around. What would you say? I'd love to hear that from both of you. What would you say to a person like that?
For me, in this environment, take a risk. take a risk. It's worth it. You know what I mean? Like, there's no ill thought from any individual around that I can say about City Union Mission. So take a chance and put some trust in people. I always harp on the fact of why don't we rest and just learn how to relax, because that's the biggest two things to do at first. Is relax, and it's okay to fall asleep. We want you to fall asleep. We want you to be lazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just release.
Yeah.
Yep.
What do you think, Amanda?
So I totally agree. I think a lot of us lose hope because we don't think we have a purpose. But as long as we're alive, God has a calling and a purpose for us.
Yeah.
So just knowing that for believers and non-believers. And like Josh said, if you need help coming into City Union Mission and knowing that we're going to suspend all judgment, we approach everyone with biblical hospitality and unconditional positive regard. And we take it slow day by day. So no matter what happened to the person, whatever they're going through, we suspend judgment and we help them come up with a great care plan to help them.
Yeah. Well, that's great. I really appreciate you guys being on the podcast today. It's been amazing. I love what you guys are doing. It's helping so many people. It's got to be a great feeling.
Yes, it's an honor. So
Yes.
thank you.
Yeah.
Very much. Thank you.
So this is the Living Well podcast. Be sure to share this with, if you're watching this, share this with your friends. Tell people about City Union Mission. Get them to follow on YouTube and Facebook and all the social media places, because we need to get the message out on the great things that are happening at City Union Mission. So be sure to do that, and thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to The Living Well. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. Follow us on social media for even more inspiration. Want to join our mission? Visit cityunionmission.org. Stay inspired, and we'll catch you next time.